welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They're open for sales and service Monday through Saturday and all the time online, open at greatlakeshondacity.com. So make sure you head out there today. Let them know that DT sent you their way, as Great Lakes Honda City is a place that I've trusted for many years, over a decade, with my vehicles. And you can see their new and used vehicles, everything to buy and lease, by going to greatlakeshondacity.com. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.mixlr.com. So however you're connected with the broadcast, we thank you so much for tuning in and spending time with us wherever you're at. And for those of you that watch and listen live, thank you. For those of you that watch on playback or listen on playback, I appreciate that as well. So however you're consuming the show here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, time is a beautiful thing, and I appreciate the time that you spend here on the show, because, you know, time is one of those things you can never get back. It's a gift we give, right? A gift that we give, but we can never get that gift back. And so I appreciate the time that you spend here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. It means a lot to me, and means a lot to all of the wonderful partners we work with, as well as everybody that is a guest on the show throughout the weeks and throughout the months and the years. So thank you for your patronage to the show. We appreciate it. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we know that we are stepping into the fantasy football season. I'm laughing here because I can't believe how quick this thing comes around. So it's definitely crazy to, know that the NFL, we're back. You know what I mean? We're back into the NFL season that'll be here in just a few weeks, and preseason's already started. And we're also back into fantasy football. There's drafts that are going on. My drafts are going to be happening here in Central and Upstate New York in the coming weeks. And so I'm very, very much looking forward to doing this with you, having this time with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So if you have a question on a fan, you're drafting this week, or you got something coming up that's on your mind in your draft, or maybe you pick somebody and you don't know, Dan, should I keep this guy? Should I not keep this guy? Whatever is on your mind when it comes to fantasy football, whether you're getting ready for your draft, you just drafted, you're setting up your roster, whatever, you're looking at the waiver wire already saying to yourself, why did I pick this guy and not that guy? If you need help with your fantasy football team, I'm happy to do it. We have helped people from all over the country, heard from so many different places, including, as far as Hawaii. So however wherever you are, whatever you're up to when it comes to fantasy football, send your questions in. Happy to answer them. Today on the show, we're going to tackle 32 NFL teams, every NFL team's depth chart. So I'm going to be taking a look at who they have out there. And why am I doing that? Because when you get to the first few rounds of the draft, you're pretty good about, okay, if I don't get this guy, I get that guy. If I don't get that guy, I'll get that guy. But when you get deeper into the draft, depending on how many teams you have, maybe you have 12 owners in the league, maybe you have 14, whatever it may be, once you pass 10 to 12, it starts to get dicey. You got 14, 16, 18 people in your fantasy football draft. It's going to become very difficult. And even when you have 10 to 12, when you get to round 10, 11, 14, 16, you're trying to figure out those guys that are going to fit your team, and you got to dig a little bit sometimes. And it also depends on, how the people draft in your draft. I mean, you might have 8, 10 people that are in the fantasy football draft, but if they go heavy on running back, and that's, kind of where the first 4, 5 rounds go, now you might be in a situation where you're like, okay, they're going heavy on running back, so I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to get a bunch of wide receivers. I'm going to get my tight end. I'm going to get my quarterback. But then you look back and say, I don't have a lot of good running backs on my team. So whatever it may be, however the draft is going and however many people are in the draft, you're going to come to a point where research is going to decide potentially if you win a championship or you don't. So I'm doing the research for you today. We're going to go 32 NFL teams, alphabetical order, and we're going to go through these teams' depth chart, so that I'm talking with you not only about the guys that most people are going to draft, like Arizona, like a Trey McBride, right? But I'm going to go deeper than that and say, okay, Trey McBride's their tight end, but in a lot of ways, he's their main receiver. What do I think of Michael Wilson? What do I think of Devin Duvernay, who's bounced around the league a little bit? Is there somebody else like a Kendrick Bourne that I think would be good on this team opposite Marvin Harrison Jr.? So there's going to be those conversations happening today that will hopefully help you in your draft, help you in free agency, help you in the waiver wire, to tell you the names now. And if these guys stay healthy, which God willing they all do, then we can look at what that essentially is going to be for you when you're trying to put your roster together or decide who's staying on your roster and who's leaving your roster. So we'll do all 32 NFL teams. We'll look at statistics on where guys stand, and also look at the cheat sheets and do I agree or disagree with where players are as far as rankings go. So a lot of stuff coming up here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and let's get started with the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals quarterback as of right now, Jacoby Brissett, and he is going to play for them this week in their preseason game. Gardner Minshew II is also on the team, and Carson Beck. I've told you before that I believe that Carson Beck is going to start at some point this season for the Arizona Cardinals. I believe he was a steal where they got him in the draft, and I do believe we're going to see him out there. He was a third-round pick, 65th overall in the 2026 NFL Draft, after helping guide his team, the Miami Hurricanes, to the national championship game in the college football playoff in his first season with Miami, first season in the ACC, and first season coming off of his injury to his throwing arm. And again, I state all those things because I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves. So I do want to make those notes about Carson Beck. The Arizona Cardinals in their preseason had the first game, the Hall of Fame game against Carolina, which was a fantastic game, 33-30, came down to the wire and came down to Haynes King rushing into the end zone to win the game. Taking a look at Carson Beck, he went 15 of 19 in the game, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. In that game, Bam Knight ran the ball 12 times for 60 yards. And so that's a name to look at here. Bam Knight on the squad in his 4th season out of NC State, a team that I've covered for over a decade. Jalen Brooks for Arizona, 3 catches, 99 yards on 4 targets. Some of the other guys here, Kenny Yeboah, another guy that I covered in his recruitment, 2 catches on 2 targets, 10 yards. Other guys not out there, Marvin Harrison Jr. not out there, Michael Wilson, so Kendrick Bourne. Harrison Wallace III, 2 catches on 2 targets for 34 yards. And Reggie Virgil, 6 targets, 5 catches, 66 yards. So just looking at that game, you know, there's guys that are working to make the team, like a Jalen Brooks, like a Reggie Virgil, Harrison Wallace III, Xavier Weaver, Kenny Yeboah, so on and so forth, trying to make this squad when the starters weren't out there. Bam Knight, you know, I think we'll see him stay on, but the other guys for Arizona, those are some names to watch. Like, I would watch Kenny Yeboah, I would watch Jalen Brooks, Virgil Wallace. Definitely watch those names to see who makes the team. But in our league, we have a team quarterback. And the importance of that to me is, you know, and I was in leagues growing up that had the team quarterback situation. And so to me, having a team quarterback is really important. After experiencing it in other leagues, I instituted it in my league. And why do I have the team quarterback? Because if a guy goes down, I don't want you to suffer from that. And that happens sometimes. So having a team quarterback essentially means if Jacoby Brissett goes down in a game, and let's say Jacoby Brissett threw 2 touchdowns, right? 2 touchdowns, 275 yards. He goes out, and so he goes out of the game, and there's half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter to play. Carson Beck comes in, he throws a touchdown, he rushes for a touchdown. Now, if you're playing in a league where you draft the single quarterback, then you're in a place where all you got is either, you either have Carson Beck, right? Or you have Jacoby Brissett. If Jacoby Brissett, so let's really work on this example. If Jacoby Brissett is the starter, and that's who you have, right? he goes down week 5. You've been playing him. He's been playing well. Arizona's had a good schedule, whatever. You have Jacoby Brissett. He goes out with 2 touchdowns and 275 yards. That's pretty good for you. Congratulations. But then you have a guy come in Carson Beck, and he throws for a touchdown. He rushes for a touchdown. He adds another 132 yards. If you have the team quarterback, you take that 275 plus that 132, right? Which would give you 307, and you get 4 touchdowns because you got 2 from Jacoby and 2 from Carson. That's why I have the team quarterback, because it bodes well for you overall to have a team quarterback just in case somebody goes down during the game and someone else has to step in, or in a situation where the quarterback battle goes into the season and it's still back and forth. So I think the team quarterback is the way to go. And I know some leagues have it. I know some leagues don't. And by the way, some respond when they come into my league for the first time. I have the feeling that maybe more leagues don't have the team quarterback than do have the team quarterback. But I think it's really important to have that team quarterback situation so that you're not getting punished if a guy goes out, and you're not missing out on things if somebody goes out. So I do think it's incredibly important to have the team quarterback situation, and that's why we've instituted it in my leagues. We've kept it in my leagues because to me it benefits you and it doesn't put you. And the thing is most teams carry 2 quarterbacks. So if you're just drafting a single name, and that name, okay, put in the case of Minnesota, Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy. If you draft Kyler, he goes down in week 3. Somebody else snatches J.J. Now you have 2 quarterbacks on your roster. You're without one, and now you got to go find somebody. Everybody else already drafted, so now you're digging. So you might have 1 starter, 1 backup on your team at this point. When you draft a team quarterback, you're never going to run into that situation, because team quarterback means that you have him and his backup and his backup to his backup. So I definitely would recommend, if your league hasn't drafted yet, to consider putting in a team quarterback, because I think ultimately it helps everybody and it's a good thing. So, and I've heard a lot of compliments about that being one of the things that sticks out to people when it comes to the leagues that we have here on Wake Up Call. So yeah, I mean, as far as Arizona goes, their quarterback situation's unique. If I drafted them, I would draft the Arizona team quarterback as my backup, not as my starter. I covered Jacoby Brissett. I've covered Carson Beck. I don't dislike either one of these guys. I've covered Gardner Minshew. So I don't think it's a bad team quarterback to have. I just think it's not your starter right now. Jeremiah Love, I mean, this guy, listen, he's in line to play Thursday. Hopefully we'll see him out there. He's the rookie out of Notre Dame. He was drafted high in the top 3 picks. I like Jeremiah Love. Tyler Algier comes in from Atlanta to help them out. And then Zonovan, a.k.a. Bam Knight, is also on the team. If you're in a deep league, drafting Bam Knight might be something you want to do, just because, unfortunately, there's been injuries to a lot of the running backs in Arizona consistently in the last few years. But Tyler Algier, we'll see how it works out. Tyler's a flyer, right? If you draft him and he does well, you're a genius. If you draft him and he doesn't, then, some people might say, listen, he was inconsistent in Atlanta and he's in a different nest with the Cardinals. He continues to be inconsistent. So Tyler Algier is a guy who I think with Bijan Robinson looked like a good 1-2 punch, but then it kind of, it faded. It came in, it faded, it came in, it faded. And unfortunately, inconsistency is going to leave guys off of rosters. So I like Jeremiah Love. I think he's worth drafting. I wouldn't be mad if you drafted him high. I wouldn't draft him number 1 overall, but I could see if there's a run on running backs in the first round that he goes in the first round, despite the fact that he is a rookie. Next one up that we're going to go to here are the Atlanta Falcons, the team that Tyler Algier came from. So Tua Tagovailoa, he is on this roster now, coming off of being the starter for the Miami Dolphins for many years and drafted by Miami. He's questionable with a back injury. Michael Penix Jr. is questionable with his knee and ACL injury, which leaves Cooper Rush and Jack Strand, pardon me. So the quarterback situation here, again, in Atlanta, when you look at quarterbacks and you look at making decisions and what's ultimately going to be right for you, this is a team quarterback situation for sure, because I don't think Tua is going to play the whole season. I don't think he's going to play every game, and I don't think Michael Penix Jr. is going to play every game. And if these guys are still not healthy enough, neither one of them might start the season. So, this is a big time question mark. I like Michael Penix. I've been a fan. I've been a fan of a healthy Tua, but I think this situation is a little dicey in Atlanta. So if I was going to tell you who to draft, I would tell you to draft Bijan Robinson, because he's the running back and all they got to do is hand him the ball. And then outside of that, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Drake London, I want to tell you to draft him. I want to tell you to draft Kyle Pitts. But I also look at Atlanta, again, with that quarterback situation, and every quarterback has their guy. Who is Tua comfortable with? Who has Penix become comfortable with? Penix has comfort with Pitts. He has comfort with London. Olamide Zaccheaus, who I covered at Arizona, when he was on Virginia, he has some good moments too. So Jahan Dotson's there now. Jahan Dotson was a Washington Commander for a while. There's talent in the receiving core in Atlanta, but there's question marks at quarterback. So, who do I feel best about? Drake London. Then it's a cross between Jahan Dotson and Kyle Pitts, and then Olamide Zaccheaus after that. But it's a toss-up. Right now, it's a big-time question mark what I think is going to happen with these, with these wide receivers and their tight end position. I think it's a big time question mark right now because of the quarterback situation. There's definitely talent, and I think these guys are going to get drafted. It's just how consistent is it going to be, and who's going to be the quarterback? And do you want to navigate through a team that's probably going to play two quarterbacks this season? So the one I feel best about, though, in the receiving core would be Drake London. I want to believe in Kyle Pitts, but it's been wildly inconsistent, which is unfortunate for the Go Gator tight end. To the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, obviously a healthy Lamar Jackson is worth the play. Lamar Jackson is probably going to rest in the preseason. Totally understandable. Skylar Thompson, Joe Fagnano, who comes from UConn, he's on the team now. Tyler Huntley, I hope Fagnano makes the team. He did a great job at UConn and had some really great statistics. If you don't believe me, let's talk about Joe Fagnano here. Some of you may not know because you may not have watched UConn. They are, one of two independents. Notre Dame is known to be the independent college football team, but UConn is also an independent. And when we look at Joe Fagnano and his numbers here this past season in 2025, he threw at UConn for a 69% completion percentage, completing 285 of his 413 passes. He had 3,448 yards, 28 touchdowns, one interception. One interception to 28 touchdowns. So, Joe Fagnano, I really do hope he makes the team. I do. And I think Baltimore's a good franchise. Now, their head coach has changed. They don't have John Harbaugh anymore. So, the new head coach of the Ravens now is Jesse Minter. And we'll see what this team looks like under Jesse Minter. Obviously, he knows the talent he has at Lamar Jackson and a guy who can run and throw the ball. So Lamar Jackson, of course, drafting him is like drafting a quarterback and a running back, so you want to do that. Derrick Henry, also worth drafting. And then, Zay Flowers is a toss-up. He has a quad injury. God willing, he'll be okay for week 1. Rashad Bateman. There's not a lot of household names. Elijah Surratt won a championship with the Indiana Hoosiers in college in the college football playoff this past year. I interviewed him, so I've crossed paths with him. A lot of these guys are working to make the team. The Devontae Walker, the Jacoby Lane, and LeJontay Wester, and so on and so forth. Now, Jacoby Lane comes to the team after being drafted here out of USC. So you would imagine Jacoby Lane can hopefully be one of the guys that affects the team right away. And then you got a guy going into his third year out of North Carolina and Devontae Walker. So we'll see who makes this team from the wide receiver situation. I mean, when you look at any depth chart in the preseason, you're looking at typically depth charts that have a ton of wide receivers for a lot of these teams. I mean, for example, Baltimore has, as of right now, as we're talking this morning, they have 3, 6, 9, they have 12 wide receivers on the roster. Obviously, that's not going to stay. So, Zay Flowers, again, he's a toss-up. He's a guy I'd wait a little bit to draft. He can be great. Covered him at Boston College and obviously followed his career with the Ravens all the way through. Rashad Bateman, not a guy who's been consistent. Jacoby Lane could really step up, and Elijah Surratt. These guys could step up from the draft and be immediately effective on this Baltimore Ravens team because Zay's not necessarily a number one, and they don't necessarily have a number two. So, I would watch Surratt, I would watch Lane, I'd watch preseason games, and I'd maybe take a flyer on one of those guys as a sleeper pick because when it comes to rookies, sometimes they're overlooked, especially if they're not rookies that were talked about a lot, rookies that were drafted in the first or second round. So that's something. I mean, I think Jacoby Lane is a name people look at, maybe not Elijah Surratt, but they might pass on them both. And so I just telling you now, either one of those guys can emerge and maybe pass Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman. So just be cognizant of that. And then Mark Andrews, he doesn't have Isaiah Likely anymore. Will that make him more consistent as a fantasy tight end? You don't want to, this is a guy that's arguably the number one tight end in the country multiple times, right? Multiple seasons we could look to him and say that's a number one tight end. There were seasons where 32 NFL teams and there's maybe 5 or 6 tight ends that I would say those are the guys you draft. Everybody else like that, it's hoping for the best and not really knowing what's going to happen from their output. Mark Andrews, you want to hope he can get back to looking like Mark Andrews in fantasy, but he's a guy that kind of tapers down a little bit. I don't know if he'll be one of the first 4 or 5 tight ends drafted by his name. In some leagues, maybe. In other leagues, they might go elsewhere. So I wouldn't forget about him, but I'm a little questionable on his consistency moving forward. And listen, he's on a roster where I just told you there's no dominant number one wide receiver yet. So he could be the number one wide receiver at tight end, like I think Trey McBride can be for Arizona. But it's left to be seen. Trey McBride, he's coming off of a good season. Mark Andrews is coming off a up and down kind of teeter-totter. He's had some injuries where Isaiah Likely stepped up. And then last year, for the first time, they played Likely and Andrews. Normally, Likely didn't see any time on the field unless Andrews was hurt. Now they're both playing. So, to me, Likely's not there now. Could that be better for Mark Andrews? You hope so. But it's still a question mark. So Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry are definite drafts. Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt maybe in the back half of your draft. Zay Flowers, you're either going to feel really good about it in week 7 or you're going to feel like you made a mistake. And Mark Andrews, I think you could wait a little bit. I wouldn't draft him necessarily very high. But if there's a giant run on tight ends and there's a bunch of guys that are gone, that could be a guy that, isn't bad to think about. Let's head to the Buffalo Bills before we take our first fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Josh Allen, James Cook, yes. They're wide receivers, though this, again, like Baltimore, this is kind of open season. Buffalo's got DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Skylar Bell, who did some good things and I think is, arguably one of the top 3, 4, 5 when it comes to wide receivers in the whole country this past college football season. I think Skylar Bell is definitely in that world. I vote for the top receiver of college football, and he was on the short list when you were getting to the end of it. He was the name that, continued on. Again, here's a guy who's from coming off of his time at UConn. I mentioned Joe Fagnano, the guy that was throwing to him. Well, Skylar Bell this last season, he had over 100 catches with 101. He had over 1,000 yards with 1,278. he had 13 touchdowns and in 13 games. So, I mean, what can you say? The year before, he had half as many catches with 50. He had 860 yards, so he had 400 less yards, and then he had 5 touchdowns. So, boosting everything, adding another. I mean, looking at this right now, running down his numbers here, he added another 400 plus yards. He added double the amount of receptions, and he more than doubled his touchdown output. So, I mean, Skylar Bell, great pickup, in my opinion, by the Buffalo Bills. I would look to maybe take him in the late rounds. I think people will overlook him, depending on how preseason goes. And then, you look at McCole Hardman, who's going to try and make this team. Dante Pettis, who's going to try and make this team. Keon Coleman, I mean, I don't know if he's like a definite for this roster. And, DJ Moore, they bring in and they pay some money to, and they hope that he's going to be a guy that can be consistent for them. When you look at DJ Moore's numbers over his career with the Bears and the Panthers, we'll start with his time with the Panthers here. 788 yards as a rookie, then 1,175, 1,193, 1,157, 888, 1,364, 966, and 682 last year. He's had 4 or more touchdowns in every season after his rookie season of 2018-19 with the Panthers. He's had 4, 4, 4, 7, 8, 6, and 6. And, so I think, and then as far as receptions go, DJ's had 55, 87, 66, 93, 63, 96, 98, and 50. I, game to game, have been underwhelmed by DJ Moore, but when you look at his overall numbers for the season, you can't help but state, and I have to say I'm wrong, I mean, I haven't been wowed by him game by game. In my mind, he hasn't been consistent, but when you look at, he's put up 3 seasons of 90 catches or more, and 2 of those seasons have happened in the last 3 years. He's got 1,000-yard season within the last 3 years. He's just shy of 1,000-yard season within the last 2 years. And within the last 4 seasons, he's had 6 or more touchdowns every season. So I got to say I'm wrong about DJ Moore, arguably, because he's underwhelmed me, but these numbers are, from game to game, because some guys look good at the end of the season statistically, but when you look at their overall play, you're like, game by game statistically, it doesn't wow you. It's like, okay, he had a 40-yard game, he had a 100-yard game. He hasn't caught a touchdown in 3 games, but then he had a game where he had 2. So when I look game to game, I was like, DJ Moore, I don't know. But when you look at his overall body of work and the consistency of it, I got to admit that I'm wrong. DJ Moore's the number 1 guy in Buffalo. He might be one of the best options they've had in a while. So, I think drafting DJ Moore is a good thing. I think going late on Skylar Bell. And then I think Shakir is a better than Coleman. I think Coleman's a toss-up. I think Palmer can do some things. I think McCole Hardman's a toss-up. Obviously, you want to draft Dalton Kincaid, even though Dawson Knox is still there, because I think Kincaid has shown you that he could do some great things. And Josh Allen is a definite. And I think James Cook, James Cook is maybe not in my top. He's got a good offense. So I'm not going to say that drafting James Cook. I mean, I've been defending James Cook since before he played it down in the NFL. So when he was at Georgia winning a national championship. So, I mean, James Cook III, looking at his statistics, I can't believe he's played 4 seasons. I feel like he just got in. I mean, he has a 1,000-yard back. So 507 yards as a rookie when he wasn't starting. Then he had 1,122, 1,009, 1,621. So in my opinion, and he's had 16 touchdowns 2 seasons ago, 12 touchdowns last season, rushing. I mean, James Cook, you can argue he's a top 5 guy. So I would draft James Cook as well. Let's take a step aside for a fast break as we go throughout the NFL. All 32 NFL franchises will be spoken about today as I help you prepare for your fantasy draft, and if you've already drafted, for your upcoming fantasy season. Stay with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios.
Hi, this is Chris Rauda.
And Colleen Rakowski from Gray's Craze of Clay.
It's a fun, innovative, upscale catering solution. We've turned eating into a whole new experience. Each of our boards is packed with delicious mix of artisan cheeses. We use premium cured meats, fresh fruits, nuts, and all of the sweet touches that really bring out the best in every perfect bite.
We offer something as small as a grab and go that feeds 1, maybe 2 people, to our large board that can serve anywhere up to 25, 28 people. So we have the ability to really meet and hopefully exceed all of our customers' expectations when it comes to the different varieties of things that we have.
Charcuterie boards or boxes are healthy, fresh, delicious. They're made to order. We're baking the breads here daily. We're baking the cookies here daily. All of our dips are homemade, made in-house. All of our spreads are all made in-house.
When you open that board or box that we have delivered or you have picked up, we want you to know that it was made with care and designed to completely elevate your event, celebration, or meeting.
We've catered parties and events for up to 300 people. So if you're walking in to grab something for lunch or something for date night or movie night, that's great too. Our events go from you eating in the car on the way home to a catering event in a rehearsal dinner or cocktail hour or party.
When we do, again, know what the event is, specifically for a wedding, we like to schedule tastings so the bride and groom can come in and see what we have to offer, and we can then, as we talk, to try to understand what they're looking for, what the venue's like. We do like to have that one-on-one interaction when it comes to catering bigger events.
Our address is 4599 State Route 31, Suite 5, in Clay, New York. We're on the corner of Route 31 and Henry Clay at Clay Marketplace.
You can order on the phone by calling area code 315-409-4171 or online at grayscraze.com/clay-ny. Come visit us at Gray's Craze of Clay, New York,
where we want you to celebrate everything.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we were just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
You know, Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food at our pizza pub. You know, that was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food to go with our high quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high quality, hand cut, top notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're gonna have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody. And hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing, amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and then those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios in your fantasy football primer for the 2026-27 season, getting you ready for everything that is going on in this upcoming NFL season to the best of my ability, looking at guys right now that are healthy, and hopefully they stay that way. So don't at me if I told you to start someone or play someone or draft someone who doesn't stay healthy. So, just something we got to look at and definitely pay attention to, because that happens, right? I mean, I could say something today and 5 minutes from now, this guy left the team, this guy had this happen, this guy got in trouble, this guy got hurt. So you don't know what's going to happen. So take it with, the reality that things can change in a half a millisecond, but break it down every single team. We're doing them in alphabetical order, so it helps you if you're watching the show on playback and I'm on the Buffalo Bills and I've already done the Cardinals, the Falcons, and the Ravens because of alphabetical order. Let's head to Carolina. Bryce Young is their quarterback. Bryce Young has had himself some better moments, which was a good thing. He was the number 1 overall pick a few seasons back out of Fly Slamma Jamma Bama, and here he is with 3 seasons with the Panthers, and he has had 2,877 yards, 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He's had 2,403 yards, 15 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and he's had this past season 3,011 yards, his first 3,000 season, 23 touchdowns, most ever he's had in a season, 11 interceptions, the most ever he's had in a season. But it seems like Bryce Young is progressing forward here and is moving in a positive direction, which you always hope for. So, I mean, you look at his numbers last year as you go throughout the season and you say, okay, 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions, 3-1, none on both sides, 1 touchdown to 0 interceptions, 2-1, 3-1, 1-0, 0-1 interception, 0-1 interception, 3-0, 1-2, 3-0, 1-0, 2-0, 0-1, 2-1, and then they played, they made it to the postseason. And they lost to the Rams in a great game, 34-31. And he had 1 touchdown, 1 interception in that game. His completion percentage was not great, 52.5%, but team played within a field goal. So, Bryce Young's not a bad. I still think he's a backup quarterback on your fantasy roster, depending on how deep your league is, but I think he's arguably trending upward. Behind him, Kenny Pickett, Haynes King, who I covered in college, and Kyle Trask, who was just brought in with Haynes King's injury coming off of the Hall of Fame game. Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, Trevor Achan, and A.J. Dillon are all on this roster, including Miles Davis, not that Miles Davis. And so, they're going to try and figure this out. I thought Chuba would do good things way back. He's done better things later in his career. Jonathan Brooks was the rookie they drafted last year, but he got hurt. A.J. Dillon, his leg is bigger than my whole body. I covered him at Boston College. He's not a bad wrecking ball, but he's never really been the dominant guy. He's never been the number one guy. I mean, even in injury, they're using this guy and that guy in Green Bay. So, I think your bet here is Hubbard and Brooks. I think they're both going to get drafted. Feet to the fire. Maybe Hubbard gets a little bit more of a nod because Brooks is coming off of an injury. I love Teteroa McMillan. I loved him in college at Arizona. He was a fantastic rookie last year for Carolina. So I think he'll get drafted high. Xavier Legette, Jimmy Horn Jr., shout out to my buddy Jason Lucas, who comes on the show a lot. He discovered Jimmy Horn and, helped to kind of push his name forward, which is a big thing. He helped to really get him out there. And when I say discovered, he helped coaches see this guy when maybe they weren't looking at the guy. John Mechie III, who comes from Houston. David Moore, who's been around the block. Chris Brazell II. They're all going to try and make the team. Xavier Legette, maybe take a late flyer on him. Jalen Coker, he had some good moments last year. And so, statistically, if we look at Carolina's Jalen Coker and what he did last season, I'm going to take a look at this. He's only played 2 seasons in the NFL. I mean, he had 478 yards in his first season, 394 in his second, 2 touchdowns to 3 touchdowns last year. So, I mean, not great, but, in moments you kind of felt like, oh, maybe this guy's going to be a steal. So I think Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette, Jimmy Horn III, toss-up. John Mechie III, toss-up. But if I had to pick between, those 4 names right now, it'd be Coker or Legette, but Teteroa McMillan's the way to go. Tommy Tremble may be the number 1 guy. He is the older brother of Jamie Tremble, who plays at Syracuse. Tommy Tremble's been on Carolina for a while. Felipe Franks, he was a quarterback in college. He shifted to tight end. You look at Jatavion Sanders and so on and so forth. I don't know if I trust any of the tight ends in Carolina, but I like Teteroa McMillan. I think Hubbard or Brooks, either one of those guys can do some good things for you. And I think Bryce Young's a good backup quarterback on your roster. Next one that we have up here in alphabetical order, going into each of the NFL franchises and giving you advice on your fantasy football season. I told you Caleb Williams would have a better sophomore season than a rookie season. I thought he would trend up. They absolutely did. They made the playoffs. He did a good job. DeAndre Swift is there. Kyle Manungai, as well as Rashawn Johnson, Britton Brown. They got a bunch of guys in the backfield here. But, when we look at DeAndre Swift, who I would imagine was brought in to be the guy for this team, DeAndre Swift, by the numbers last year, had over 1,000 yards rushing, 223 carries, 1,087, and he had 9 rushing touchdowns. So I think, he's still the guy. I think Rashawn Johnson's going to be trying to make the team. And Manungai filled in when he had to fill in. Manungai! I just love saying it. Please don't take any offense, Kyle. I enjoy saying the name, and I felt like I needed to say it 2 different ways this morning. But, in his rookie season, 783 yards. He had 169 carries, and he had 5 touchdowns. So even though DeAndre had over 1,000 yards, here's Manungai in his rookie year with almost 800 yards of his own, plus 5 rushing touchdowns. Plus, he was just shy of 170 carries, and he caught the ball 18 times on 30 targets. So, I think Manungai is another guy you got to look at drafting. He might fall down the boards a little bit, but you're doing your homework here on the show this morning, and I'm telling you, that's a guy you got to go out and get. Outside of Rome Odunze, Luther Burden III, Khalif Raymond, Jade Walker, Xavier Thomas, Scott Miller, Ray McLeod, who I covered in college, so on and so forth. These are a lot of non-household names trying to figure it out. So I think Rome Odunze, the question was, where was the lack of consistency last year with Odunze? But you're hoping that things will get better. And when I say lack of consistency, if we look at his game log from last season, we're talking about a guy who had 37 receiving yards, then 128, then 62, then 69, then 32, then 31, then 114. Then in the game at Cincinnati, he didn't catch any of the 3 passes thrown his way at 0 yards. Then 86, then 41, then 53, then 8. And then 44 in both of the playoff games. So he was wildly inconsistent, but you would think he is their number one guy. So I think Rome Odunze, yes, I'm a little, I shouldn't even say am I a little concerned? I guess I'm a little concerned. I'm like, put your hand on the top of the stove and you just turn the burner on, so it's a little hot, but it's not burning your finger. That's probably where I am. A little touch, a little tap, little, not even an ow yet. Just kind of a, I don't know. So Rome Odunze, Luther Burden III. This is an interesting pick here. So let's take a look at Luther Burden and how he did last year for the squad. He was a rookie. He played in 15 games. He caught 47 of the 60 targets thrown his way, 652 yards, 2 touchdowns. Somebody's got to be the number 2 guy. So it's either going to be him, it's going to be Raymond, it's going to be Scotty Miller. One of these guys is going to have to step up, figure it out. So, Jade Walker, we'll see, where he's out of Texas A&M in his second season. And then Xavier Thomas is a rookie out of LSU. So, Xavier might step up right away. I trust my gut. I'm going to tell you draft Rome. I'm going to tell you keep Xavier Thomas's name on your little sheet there that you don't let nobody see. And then Colston Loveland, I think he's done a great job. They brought in Sam Roush, who I covered coming out of Stanford. He's a rookie. And, I think they're stacked. You have Cole Kmet, you got Sam Roush coming in, and you already have Colston Loveland that had a really good rookie season. I think Colston's the guy you draft, but overall, I love if you can have, I talk about team quarterback, if you could have team tight end, I would take the Chicago Bears in that one. Loveland had 58 catches on 82 targets, 713 yards, and 6 touchdowns as a rookie. So shout out to him for that. Never fumbled once, too. And I'm going to knock on wood here because I'm not trying to jinx the guy in any way, shape, or form. So I think you should definitely draft DeAndre Swift, Colston Loveland, Rome Odunze. Yes, he can be your number 1. But I'm a little, just a tad, not even like concerned is the word, just watchful, maybe. And I think he's going to be okay, but he was inconsistent last year. And then Xavier Thomas, I think you definitely got to write that name on your board. And then Kyle Manungai, I'm not, I think he should be in your stable of running backs. And Caleb Williams, listen, I think this Chicago Bears team is doing good things. So I think Caleb could be your starter, especially in a deep league. So, I think Caleb's done a good job, and I congratulate him for it. We take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, and looking at the Bengals situation right now, Joe Burrow, I want this guy to stay healthy. I want him to be healthy and consistent. That's what I want. what do they say? Your best ability is your availability. Last year, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 1,800 yards, 1,809. The year before that, almost 5,000 yards. 2 years before that, almost 4,500 yards. The year before that, 4,600 plus yards. I mean, he's a talent. He's a national champion at LSU over Trevor Lawrence and Clemson, but he's still a question mark. So I like Joe Burrow, but I don't necessarily feel 100% great if he's my starting quarterback. I'd love to draft my quarterback, then have other people in the league look at other positions, wait a little while, and then strike and get Burrow a little bit later when people may not be thinking about quarterbacks. Chase Brown had over 1,000 yards last year. He was just shy of it the year before. And the year before that, he had 179 yards. He went from carrying the ball as a rookie 44 times to carrying it 229 and then 232. So he's carried it almost the same amount of time the last 2 seasons. And he went from 990 to 1,019. He had 7 touchdowns 2 years ago rushing. He had 6 touchdowns last year. And receiving, this is incredibly important, the dual threat running back here, he had 360 yards 2 years ago receiving and 4 touchdowns. And he had 437 yards last year plus 5 receiving touchdowns. So last season, he accumulated almost 1,500 yards altogether. And he had 11 touchdowns, 6 rushing, 5 receiving, which is a pretty balanced running back. I told you I like Chase Brown. I didn't want people to give up on him. Hopefully you didn't. So I do like Chase. And Samaje Perine, when we take a look at the backup here, who's had some longevity in the NFL, he has been a Commander, a Dolphin, a Bengal, a Bronco, a Chief, and he's a Bengal again. So he had 382 yards last year, 84 carries, 3 touchdowns. Not bad. A guy to grab, and if you're going to get 5 or 6 running backs, you might want to get him in there later. But I do like Chase Brown. I like Jamar Chase. And then Andre Yacivas, this was a guy who I think, some people were hoping would be a sleeper, right? Somebody goes down, you pick him up, and he has a good game or two. So then you're like, all right, where am I at? Well, he had 4 touchdowns as a rookie, then 6, then 2 last year. He's been consistently healthy, which is fantastic. May that continue by the grace of God. He played in 16 games as a rookie, and then he played in 17 and 17 these last 2 seasons, which is the entire season. So give him credit where credit's due. He's had over 400 yards in the last 2 seasons as well. So I don't think he's a bad third option at wide receiver. I think he's a guy you could get a little bit later. We take a break. We go 18 rounds. We take a break after 9. I would look at getting a guy like him right before the break, depending on the run on wide receivers, or, right after the break. T. Higgins, he had 846 yards last year, 11 touchdowns, 9-11 the year before that, and 10 touchdowns. T is still their second guy. And so, I like Chase, I like Higgins, and I like Yacivas to get a little bit later. Tight end wise, not sold on anybody. But Chase Brown, maybe Samaje Perine late. Jamar Chase, Jamar's going to go in the first round. T. Higgins, Andre Yacivas. I think Yacivas you could get as a steal, depending on when you strike. And then Joe Burrow's got Joe Flacco behind him. And I like that situation for the wide receivers if one Joe goes down, that being Burrow, and Flacco has to step up. Hopefully Burrow does not go down. But if he does, Old Faithful Joe Flacco is there, and I don't think there's going to be too much of a drop-off in getting the ball out to the receiver. So I like those receivers even more, knowing that the backup quarterback is Joe Flacco. Let's go to the Cleveland Browns, the Dog Pounds. Now, they have Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and they drafted Taylon Green. They still have all those guys. So we'll see how that goes. Deshaun Watson has been such an interesting situation. The dude's been hurt. He's been suspended. It's been over a year of him being investigated. And he was the first guy to get a fully guaranteed contract, which is psychotic. Quarterback-wise, to get a fully guaranteed contract when you got other guys out there that definitely, in my opinion, should have gotten a fully guaranteed before a Deshaun Watson. I mean, listen, get your money, do your thing. If you can get it, get it. Like, I'm happy for you. I'm not knocking the guy. I'm just saying, if you look at the league, that's not the first guy, the second guy, the third guy that I would give a fully guaranteed quarterback contract to. And, it would insult to injury is that he was being investigated and he didn't even get to play right away after getting that contract to take him from Houston to Cleveland. So Shedeur Sanders might be out there. Listen, I like Quinshon Judkins. I like Dylan Sampson. I think Dylan Sampson's a good part of the 1-2 punch. As far as the receiving core of the Cleveland Browns go, this is a toss-up to me of like, what guys do I want to tell you? Like, yeah, go for that guy. So let's look at statistics on last season as far as receiving. I mean, I think I love Harold Fannin Jr. 731 yards. He led the whole team, even though he was a tight end, not a wide receiver. 6 touchdowns as a rookie. I mean, he had 107 targets. He caught 72. The closest to him was Jerry Jeudy, who had 2 touchdowns the whole season, 602 yards, and played in 17 games. 2 touchdowns in 17 games. That's not a number 1 wide receiver. Isaiah Bond, he had no touchdowns. He played in 16 games, 338 yards. There's a massive drop-off. After you go from Harold Fannin to Jerry Jeudy, it's a massive drop-off. It's almost half of what Jerry Jeudy had. Isaiah Bond, 338 yards to Judy's 602. Njoku had 293. And then after that is running back Dylan Sampson. And then shortly after that is running back Quinshon Judkins. So Jeudy, somebody's going to draft him. It's not going to be me. But I would tell you Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and Harold Fannin Jr. If I'm going to draft a Brown, that's one of the those are the 3 Cleveland Browns. If I'm going to go to the dog pound to get somebody, I'm going to get one of those guys. That's how I look at it. Let's go into D's here. The Dallas Cowboys. I was just in their practice facility about a month ago here. Dak Prescott was talking to coach yesterday, Nathan Sherwin, who is he's the JV head coach and the varsity wide receivers coach for the football program over at Liverpool. And we were out at Avicoli's last night doing a live broadcast. I thank everybody that watched and everybody that goes out to Avicoli's and enjoys some time out there 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks, as well as takeout, delivery, and catering by calling 315-622-5100. You can also order online at myavicolis.com. That's MyAVICOLLIS.com. So make sure you get in touch with them today. Nathan's a big-time Dallas Cowboy fan, but he's a big-time Dak Prescott fan, which you don't always hear of. Well, Dak Prescott last year, after going through an injury season the year before where he played 8 games, he got back to 4,000 yards. He has had over 4,400 yards every other season, which would predict that he would not have it this season, which I hope is not the case. He had 4,449 in 2021-22. Then he dipped to 2,860. Then he went up to 4,516. Then in the injury year 2 seasons ago, he had just shy of 2,000 at 1978. And last year he had 4,552. So and actually, if you go back even further, he has continued that. He started his NFL career with over 3,000 yards in his first 3 seasons. Then he had 4,902, which was his best season in 2019-20. So let's the best season for yards wise. So let's look at this, okay? Because the pattern actually goes a little bit farther back, and I didn't see it right away. From 2019 to last season, he has had a 4,000-yard season, and then he got hurt. Had a 4,000-yard season, and then he got hurt. Had a 4,000-yard season, and then he got hurt and had a 4,000-yard season. So the prediction would be he would get hurt this year and not have a 4,000-yard season, but I hope that's not the case for this guy. He has had 30 touchdowns or more in 4 of his NFL seasons, including last season and 2 of his last 3 seasons. But again, the pattern is 4,000-yard season and then injury. Hopefully Dak can stay healthy. I love the story that he texts his mom, who passed away years ago. He texts her before every game. Love that story. And God bless him for, keeping mom alive and keeping that relationship going, because she's very much in heaven watching over him. So let's hope the best for Dak Prescott. Let's hope that he can break the cycle of having a really good season and then getting hurt. So God willing, that will all work out. And I'm hoping the best for him in that situation. So, I mean, Dak Is he going to be my starter? I teeter back and forth on if I want him to be my 1 or my 2. I think he, on your roster, is not a bad thing, but, and obviously he gets the ball out. George Pickens had over 1,400 yards. CD had over 1,000. Ferguson had 600 at tight end. Ryan Flournoy had 475, 4 touchdowns, so not too shabby there. Running back wise, the Dallas Cowboys have a situation now where they have Javonte Williams back, and I would think the offense is going to take a step up, honestly, in my opinion. I think there's going to be some good things in this offense. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. I would tell you, I mean, like I said, Dallas, in my opinion, Dak Prescott, he's not a bad bet. He really isn't. But, again, I teeter if I want him to be my starter or my backup. But if he's on my team, he's on my team. I'm not mad about it. So I do like Dak, and then I like CeeDee Lamb. I like George Pickens. I like Jake Ferguson. I'm happy they figured out something with him. And I like Javonte Williams. I think there's a lot of good in this Dallas offense to draft. Let's take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll keep rocking and rolling. Every NFL team giving you fantasy football advice as you step into the 2026-27 NFL season. I'm doing it in alphabetical order. So if you go back and watch this video or send it to somebody and let's say they need help with the Denver Broncos, you can tell them, hey, right after the fast break, the Denver Broncos came up after the Cowboys. So that's coming up right after this in the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Gina Husted. I'm part owner of Skippy's Ice Cream. The other half is my better half, Don Husted Jr. When somebody comes up to the truck and it's a family, it's nice that the older generation is nostalgic and they can tell the younger generation, back in my day, we used to have the truck around our neighborhood. So now you're lucky because the truck can come to your party, and you're lucky that this truck is at a festival and you're getting to buy the ice cream. And basically we're ice cream that comes to you now, specifically comes to you, not for you waiting for us, we're coming to you. We will do neighborhoods if you have a block party. We do birthdays, we do anniversaries, we do celebrations of life, we do wedding showers, we do festivals, we'll do corporate events, we have a lot of corporate picnics, we have family reunions, so it's a whole wide range of whatever party you have, we'd love to be at. We're so appreciative of the community, always coming up to us at festivals and calling us to have different events. We have a lot of return customers. We always have people coming up to our truck. We're always there for the community. We always try to give back to different organizations and fundraisers, and so I think the community sees that. We like to give back to them. This is where we live. This is where we were raised. This is where our kids were raised. So the community is very special to us. I mean, obviously we've lived here our whole lives. So it means a lot that they come up to our truck and that they choose us, because we're just there to please the community and deal with as many people as we can in this community, because this is, like I said, where we were born and raised. If you'd like to get in touch with Skippy's Ice Cream and have us at your next event, I would suggest using our email, skipthecake, skipthecake, skipthecake@gmail.com. That's the fastest way to get a hold of us. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us, and that's going to get the fastest response from us. If you choose to call, if you don't have an email, then you can call 315-456-9750, and we'll be glad to get back to you as soon as we can. Skippy's Ice Cream, the original ice cream truck.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry loving friend. Right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Open for sales and service Monday through Saturday and all the time online, where you can check their inventory of new and used vehicles and all that you can buy and lease by going to the Detroit Broncos is what I was about to say. The Denver Broncos, putting two together. Bo Nix. I like Bobo Nix. I definitely think you should put him out there. And yes, I call him Bobo Nix. I just always have. So Bobo, I had him going 13th overall to the Broncos. That was the prediction. Predicted that he would have the second best rookie season behind only Jaden Daniels, and that happened. When you go back and look at it, they both made the playoffs. I think Jaden, did a little bit better. Bo Nix could have won a Super Bowl this last year if he had stayed healthy. So hopefully things are going to get better, for not to take anything away from Seattle, but hopefully things will get better with Bo Nix. And interesting because Seattle and Denver made that big trade for Russell Wilson a few years back. So like seeing them both in the championship game together would have been interesting. Bo Nix has been in the NFL for 2 years. Rookie year, 3,775 passing yards. Last year, 3,931. 29 touchdowns rookie, 25 touchdowns last year. 12 interceptions to 11 interceptions. And his completion percentage, 66.3 as a rookie, 63.4 as a sophomore, 64.8 overall. Not too shabby. And he's had 4 or more rushing touchdowns in both of his seasons. 4 as a rookie, 5 as a sophomore in the NFL. I like Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix, he's got a great defense that he can lean on, but he brings it. And I think if Denver was healthy, I don't think New England makes it to the championship game. And I'm not trying to knock New England. A healthy Bo Nix, there's something to be said about that. So I like Bo Nix, and I'm going to say he's like, maybe your number one, potentially your backup quarterback. But I do like Bo Nix. I think he should be your starting quarterback, but fantasy football-wise, if we go back and we look at his numbers last year, just looking to see here, was there any game where he didn't throw at least a touchdown pass? So there were 3 games, 3 of his 18 games, he didn't throw a touchdown pass, but 15 of 18 he did. So yeah, I think Bo is a number one guy, and I like R.J. Harvey. I think some people will overlook him, but I do like R.J. Harvey. J.K. Dobbins is back. Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna. He's coming off of a undisclosed injury, I guess. So God willing, he'll be okay. But I like R.J. Harvey. I like Cortland Sutton. Covered him at SMU. That guy, Hans McGee, he's out there getting it. Troy Franklin, I told you, he played at college at Oregon with Bo Nix. I thought that would work out. Worked out in the sophomore season for the two of them. So I think that'll continue to be something as long as he can get open. And Jalen Waddle, while you work, is there now from Miami. So I like Jalen Waddle as well. And Evan Engram, tight end that's, in Denver after doing a lot of great things in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville not appreciating him, in my opinion. So, Evan Ingram's a guy to watch if you got to get a second tight end, but I like Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle. I like R.J. Harvey, and I like Bobo. So that's how I feel about Denver, and I'm sticking to it, a healthy Denver, unless they make me change my mind by not performing, but hopefully they will. So let's look at Detroit. Jared Goff, I think you need to go and get him and bring him onto your team. I like Jared Goff. Jahmyr Gibbs, listen, some have him ranked the number one running back or one of the top running backs in the nation. I don't disagree with that if he stays healthy. He doesn't have David Montgomery with him anymore. He's got Isaiah Pacheco, who comes from the Chiefs. He's questionable for week 1 with a knee MCL injury. God willing, Pacheco will be okay. And then Sion Vaki is also on the injury report. Raheem Blackshear, covered him in college. Raheem Blackshear, he is in his 4th year out of Virginia Tech. I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs. I think someone's going to take a flyer on Pacheco and could look like a genius because they have used 2 running backs. And the thing is with Gibbs and Montgomery, they both look like starters statistically at the end of the year. Double-digit touchdowns, getting a ton of yards. They worked out well. Hopefully that'll be the same for Pacheco. Hopefully for Detroit it'll be even better. And for my guy Johnny, who's a big Detroit fan, shout out Johnny Roberts. my bro. So I do like Gibbs, and I think Pacheco's a good handcuff to get. I like Jared Goff. Amon-Ra St. Brown, yes. Jameson Williams, yes, but I'd probably go a little bit later. I don't know if I'm going to draft him in the... Depends on how it goes, but I'd like to stay away from having to draft a Jameson Williams in the first 3 or 4 rounds. We'll see how it goes. And Sam Laporta. Sam freaking Laporta. You got to draft Sam Laporta. You have to. I mean, come on. Watch him play on the field. Detroit's better with him out there at tight end. Let's go to Green Bay. That is Johnny's wife Erin's favorite team, and they're next to each other in alphabetical order. Isn't that beautiful and cute? Jordan Love, I don't know if I love having... I wouldn't have him as my starter. I'd have him as my backup. He'd be a really good backup. 23 touchdowns to 6 interceptions last year is a beautiful thing. In his time as a starter, he 3 seasons ago, 4,159 yards, in 2023-24, 64.2% completion percentage. He had 32 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. And then in 2024-25, 63.1% completion percentage, 3,389 yards, 25 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. And then last season, 66.3% completion percentage, which is his best as a starter, 3,381 yards and 23 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He did have 66.7 in 2022. But he only had 195 yards in that game. Obviously, he wasn't the starter. So, I mean, Jordan Love's doing well. He is. So, I would draft a quarterback before Jordan Love and have him as my very high-quality, capable backup. They have Tyrod Taylor. They have Kyle McCord from Syracuse. What up, Kyle McCord? I said I wanted him to go somewhere where he could play, so I'm happy that I was hoping it would happen sooner than later, and it did. He went to Philly, and now he's on Green Bay. So I do like where he is compared to where he was. Jordan Love, yeah, I mean, I think he's a 1. I don't know if I would make him my definite 1, but he is a 1 at quarterback. I just would rather have somebody else there ahead of him. I like Jaden Reed. Christian Watson, we'll see if he can be consistent. We'll see if Matthew Golden can be consistent. If Savion Williams can be consistent. Jaden Reed can be consistent. If Sky Moore could do something. There's a lack of consistency with Green Bay's wide receivers. It's open season. So draft at your own, risk. But if I had to pick one of them right now, it would be Reed, then maybe Watson, then maybe Golden and everybody else. Josh Jacobs healthy is worth putting out there. Marshawn Lloyd healthy is worth putting out there as well. I think, we'll see them both have some time. So I do feel good about that. I want to take a look at Marshawn Lloyd's statistics. So Marshawn, 2024, he played 1 game and then he didn't play at all last year. So, he's a guy that I'm hoping, out of USC, drafted in 2024, 3rd round pick, 88 by Green Bay. I'm hoping that he'll bring something to the table, but he's a question mark. He's a sleeper, right? Because I think some people thought he could come in as a rookie and be the starter, but they brought in Josh Jacobs last year. He did a good job. I think Marshawn's going to get something here because I'm looking at the rest of the depth chart, and I don't necessarily think that any of those guys right now are, worth you spending a draft pick on. So I like Jacobs, but I would look at drafting Marshawn Lloyd. I think he's going to get drafted in leagues. I think people are going to consider him a sleeper. So we'll see. Good thing about the NFL is we don't know what to expect, right? Because injury, you can look at injury as a bad thing. You can also look at it as there's no tape on him, really. There's 1 game 2 years ago. So I'm not against drafting a Marshawn Lloyd, but a healthy Josh Jacobs, that's a great pick. That could be a top 5, top 6, top 10 running back in the NFL. Let's look at the Houston Texans and CJ motherfreaking Stroud and where CJ Stroud is at. Stroud, here are his 3 seasons. 63.9% completion percentage, over 4,000 yards. 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. People felt really good. Then it was 63.2, so right there with the 63%, 3,727 yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 less than the year before, but he more than doubled his interceptions with 12. And then last year, 64.5% completion percentage was his best ever, 3,041 yards, so he's never had over 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, lowered his interceptions by 4, lowered his touchdowns by 1. I don't knock CJ Stroud like some others may have. He has David Montgomery now from Detroit. I think that's going to help him all out, really. Jawar Jordan Jr., who I covered in his recruitment. He came to Syracuse and he went to Louisville. Now he's been a Houston Texan ever since he went into the NFL. He's a guy to watch as like a deep league, a sleeper, because he could return kicks. He could do different things, special teams and offense. So that's just a name to kind of circle. But I like David Montgomery. CJ Stroud is my backup quarterback. I like that. I like Nico Collins. Outside of that, I think it's a toss-up. Is Tank Dell going to be healthy? Jaden Higgins, Xavier Hutchinson, toss-up. I like that Dalton Schultz is still there. I think he's a serviceable tight end. Could be a top 6 guy, top 10 guy at tight end. So not mad about if he ends up on my team and he's my starting tight end. Let's head to Indianapolis. The Colts in the same division as the Texans, which is the AFC South. Daniel Jones is still there. And that was a confusing thing. He's not going to play in the preseason. Anthony Richardson is also still there. And Riley Leonard is still there. All of them played last year. So Daniel Jones was having himself an incredible season. The Colts got to 11 wins pretty quickly. But, then the question became, were they willing to keep Daniel Jones, which is completely surprising because Daniel Jones not only looked like he was back in a Duke jersey, the way the Colts jerseys look, but he was playing arguably the best he's ever played in the NFL after spending his entire career prior to last year with the Giants. So I like Daniel Jones as a backup quarterback. I like Jonathan Taylor. Alec Pierce covered Cincinnati. He was at Cincinnati. Happy that he stepped it up. And Josh Downs covered him too at North Carolina. He has, stepped up a little bit here and there. And outside of that, it is question mark. Ashton Doolin, Nick Westbrook, Ikine, Anthony Gould, Laquan Treadwell, and on and on and on and on and on. So I think Alec Pierce and Josh Downs, right now, I would have them as maybe a Pierce as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Downs I'd have as a wide receiver 2. Tyler Warren, I told you I loved him going into it. I watched him at Penn State in the college football playoff. I was at Beaver Stadium when they went up against SMU. I was a fan of Tyler Warren, and I thought anyone that drafted him, that he could be a good rookie and automatically have fantasy positive effects, and he did. So Jonathan Taylor signed an extension. Tyler Warren, I like them both the most. And Daniel Jones as a backup quarterback. Alec Pierce, Josh Downs. Hopefully neither one of them has to be your number 1 guy, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have them on your draft board and potentially pick them up here. I'm happy that Alec Pierce is showing up because I didn't want him to fall by the wayside. And I think with Michael Pittman Jr. gone, which was surprising to me, I think Alec Pierce could do some good things. I think Josh Downs can too. And I think there's going to be a third guy that's going to have to step up somewhere. So we'll see who that's going to be. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. Let's look at Trevor Lawrence by the numbers. He's been in the league since 2021. And so he has had 5 seasons in the league. And his completion percentage has gone from 59.6 to 66.3 to 65.6 to 60.6 to 60.9. His yards have gone from 3,600 to over 4 to over 4 to 2 to over 4 again. So he's had over 4,000 yards in 3 of his 5 seasons, and those have come in 3 of the last 4 seasons. He had his most touchdowns ever in a season passing last year with 29, and he had his 3rd most interceptions with 12. So his most as a rookie, 17. 2 years later with 14. Now he's got it down to 12. He's had 2 seasons where he's had under that. But obviously in 2024, we're not talking about a full season for him. 11 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. So I like what Trevor Lawrence is doing. Would love to see his completion percentage get a little bit higher. But you got drops on Jacksonville too. So you got to account for that. It counts against the quarterback statistically, and I don't think it should. I think there should be a category that shows drops, which doesn't count against the completion percentage. If you hit the receiver in the hands, it should not count against the completion percentage for a quarterback. That is not his fault. Just like I think yards after catch need to be put in statistics where you show what a quarterback has yardage-wise of throwing the ball and then what was added into it from yards after catch. Because Tom Brady throws a 2-yard pass to, James White, and James White, of all these 2-yard passes, gets almost 700 yards. That goes to Tom Brady. But in actuality, he's throwing 2, 3, 5-yard passes, 8-yard passes, and James White's getting over 600 yards after completion. So I think that should be put in the stats for a quarterback as well. In my opinion, not to knock anybody, but don't take away from the quarterback when somebody drops the ball, and don't balloon the quarterback when the yards after catch are good for a guy who's just really good at short passes and systematically knowing where things are, because you got to give credit to the receiver at that point. Yeah, there's scheming for the coach and the quarterback having a good eye and leading a receiver, but the receiver in an open field doing what he does for yards after completion, that's for him more than anybody else, because he's got to make moves on somebody and the blocker's got to block. So I'm also for statistically trying to show more information on offensive linemen. I think that's helpful. So Trevor Lawrence, I like him. I think he's good running this offense for Jacksonville. I would have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 when I'm drafting, meaning I would want to have a starter and then Trevor Lawrence. And then Bajal Tootin, I like Bajal Tootin. Chris Rodriguez Jr. got brought in from Washington. LaQuinn Allen Jr., rookie out of Syracuse, guy that's been on the show a bunch of times, including last year. I like LaQuinn Allen. I think he's going to get his hay. They've already shown that they trust him on third down. They trust him in games, during the season as a rookie. I like LaQuinn Allen. I mean, they trust these guys enough to get rid of Travis Etienne Jr., who was a safety blanket for Trevor. They played together at Clemson. I mean, I don't know how you let a number one running back who's a 1,000-yard guy, who's a dual threat catching the ball and running the ball, go for free when you had 3 years to either extend him or trade him. That makes no sense, but Jacksonville has made a bunch of those decisions that make me scratch my head. So Trevor Lawrence, I'd have him as my backup quarterback right now. I think that could change. Bajal Tootin, I do like him. I'd put him as a running back 2. I'd put LaQuinn Allen right now as a running back 3 on my roster, but I think they're worth drafting LaQuint late. I think drafting here in Syracuse, somebody's going to take LaQuint because 1, he's Syracuse. 2, he's Jacksonville. 3, some of you know that I've interviewed him. So I think someone's going to take him and then look at me and grin. So I'm going to have to pick him up somewhere. Maybe as my 5th running back and not my 6th because I'm in Syracuse. Brian Thomas Jr., definitely worth getting out there. I don't know why they would think of trading him if there was any truth to that. Jacoby Myers is a good possession receiver. Travis Hunter is a good two-way player, so I like him as a potential steal if he can be consistent. And I like Brenton Strange. I think Brenton Strange could emerge as a top 7, top 10 tight end in the NFL if he's consistent. And, I think Brenton Strange he's a good guy to have on your roster. Hopefully you can have him as your backup, but if he has to be your starter, I wouldn't be overly mad about the Penn State guy who came in 2023. He had over 500 yards receiving last year as a tight end, caught 46 balls. The year before he caught 40 and had 411 yards. So there's a consistency there. 2 touchdowns 2 years ago, 3 touchdowns last season. And you can tell that Trevor Lawrence trusts his tight end and he trusts him in a pinch, in a game-winning type situation. He did it with Evan Engram and he did it with Brenton Strange. So I like Strange as well. And so we're going to keep it going here with the Kansas City Chiefs right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios.
Big West, only the bold.
Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. You just saw not only our 2 newest partnerships, but monumental partnerships, signing an entire conference to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media's family, with the entire Big West taking up most of the great state of California as well as Utah Valley. And then you look at making history with the first ever high school signing a multimedia marketing partnership with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, the first of its kind in Central and Upstate New York. And doing something unique with a high school, I think, across the country and signing them to a multimedia marketing partnership that mirrors them to what a college or university would receive here on the show, giving that to OnTech Charter High School, who is making history, stepping out where no school in our community has done before, at least up here in central and upstate New York and potentially beyond. So happy to not only have our two newest partners, but to make history with them both. Here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, getting you ready for the season, alphabetical order going through the NFL. Let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Patty Mahomes is on the injury report with that ACL. God willing, he will be okay and ready to go. Justin Fields is there. Garrett Nussmeier took a million years for somebody to get him, but the LSU quarterback has found his home, and hopefully he will be there and ready. I mean, if they need him, hopefully he will be ready to go. So the knee injury progress for Patty Mahomes, taking a look at this. He says, I forget about it sometimes. I try to be smart. It's about learning to play with what I got. We're just going to keep pushing it so I can hopefully get that okay to go out there and play week 1, end quote. So hopefully things will be well. Hopefully we'll see him out there. You know he is worth drafting, and if anybody passes on him, somebody's going to make him pay. They brought in Kenneth Walker III after Kenneth won a Super Bowl with Seattle and had himself a wonderful postseason. So there's something to be said about them arguably having the best running back they've had in a very long time, and maybe in the Pat Mahomes era. So let's be excited about that if you're a Chief. And then outside of that, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, and on and on and on. It's a crapshoot again at wide receiver with another team. And Kansas City, we'll see. Rashee Rice, can he stay healthy? Xavier Worthy, can he stay healthy? He's on the injury report right now. Got a shoulder injury. Hopefully he'll be okay. Travis Kelce's back for his 87th year of playing NFL football. And I think that Travis Kelce, I mean, he's still worth putting on your team. I don't know if I have him as a top 5 tight end right now. Ironically, he wears number 87. But I do think, Kelce's worth drafting. I might let somebody else pick him high because I may not go as high as someone. I'm not going to draft him in depends on how tight ends go in any given draft if there's a big run on them early, but I'm not going to pick him in the first 3 rounds. If somebody wants to do that, have at it. No offense to him at all. I'm just saying that's not a guy I'm picking in the first 3 rounds. But yeah, I think I like Pat Mahomes. I like Kenneth Walker III. Wide receivers, somebody's going to get drafted. I'd try to go elsewhere. And then Travis Kelce, I'll take him, but I'm not taking him in the first 3 rounds is what I would tell you. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. And that is a shout out to Chris Berman, the Boom, who I met in Jacksonville and had a wonderful conversation with somebody who I consider to be an inspiration. Kirk Cousins, if him and Max Crosby can stop fighting, he may be the week 1 starter. And Fernando Mendoza, we'll see how it all shakes out here. But Mendoza, we'll see where he lands on the Mendoza line. Is he above it or below it? Fernando is going to get some opportunities here in preseason. I'm excited to see him. Again, I'm concerned about the blocking for this Raiders team, whoever the quarterback, running back, wide receivers, tight ends are going to be. Because if you can't block, then, it's going to affect everybody else. That's why I'm saying blockers need to get more statistics. That we need to do something statistically, and we need to put more things out about the offensive line because we need them. They're imperative. Ashton Jeanty, as a rookie, coming off of having 1 million yards in his last season with Boise State in college, he played in all 17 games as a rookie. He carried the ball 266 times. He had 975 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was almost a 1,000-yard back. But there were moments where, you look, and I think he should have had more than 5 touchdowns. But you look at 38 yards, 43, 63, 138, 67, 75, 21, 42, 60, 7, 6 carries for 7 yards against Dallas in a blowout loss at home. 50, 31, 30, 35, 128, 60, 87. So when you look at it game by game, it doesn't look great. And he had a touchdown in his first ever game in the NFL. He did that against the Patriots. 19 carries for 38 yards, but only 2 yards a carry. Then he had none, then he had none, then he had 1, then he had none, then he had 1, then he had none, then he had none, then he had 1, then he had no touchdowns for 1, 2, 3, 5 games. Then he had 1, and then he ended with the last 2 games not having any. So, you hope the offensive line gets better. He's a phenomenal talent, and you hope he gets better. I like Ashton Jeanty. I think he's worth drafting. I think people draft him high. I understand why. Mike Washington Jr., who sat right in the studio next to me multiple times and has been on the show for years. Mike Washington Jr. coming from Arkansas and having a phenomenal season. There was only 5 SEC running backs who had 1,000 yards this past season. Mike Washington did it in his first season in the SEC, transferring to Arkansas from New Mexico State, and he was the only running back to get to 1,000 yards with under 200 carries. The other 4 guys needed 200 or more carries to do it. He did not. He comes from Central New York and CNS. Shout out to Mike Washington. He's on the depth chart as the number 2 guy right now. I think he's a guy to potentially take a flyer on there. Trey Tucker, I think he's trending upward, but this is a toss-up. Tucker, Jalen Naylor, Jack Beck, Dante Thornton Jr., Malik Benson, who comes from Notre Dame, Philip Dorsett, who's bounced around the NFL, Malik Benson, who comes from Oregon. So he's a rookie. I did cover him with the Orange Bowl that was in Miami, home of the Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium, when they played Texas Tech and beat Texas Tech in a terrible offensive game. But yeah, I think Tucker, right now, Tucker would be the guy, but we'll see. Again, when's Mendoza going to play? Every quarterback has their guy or guys. I tell you that every year, but that's because it's true, and that's because it every year proves itself. So, Trey Tucker right now, but that could change. I think your best bet is Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. And then if you want to grab and stash Mendoza, I get it, as maybe your 3rd quarterback, maybe your 2nd, but hopefully your 3rd, and then see what happens. The Los Angeles Chargers, we'll go to them, and Jim Harbaugh, and we'll go to his team. Justin Herbert, I like Herbie, I really do, but Herbert, let's look at Justin Herbert's statistics last year. So Herbie, dude has had over 4,000 yards in 2020 in the COVID year. Then he had over 5,000. Then he had over 4,700. Then he had 3,100 plus. Then he had almost 3,900. And then last year he had over 3,700. He has thrown in the last 3 seasons 69 touchdowns to 23 interceptions. Not too shabby. His completion percentage, 66.6, 65.9, 68.2, 65.1, 65.9, and last year 66.4. So, that's a starter. He stays healthy. That's a guy you would like to think you can lean on. Amarian Hampton, again, if he stays healthy, looked good as a rookie. Keaton Mitchell is there. Kamani Vidal is there. Those are guys to grab and stash. They could be waiver wire guys. In the first few weeks, they might be free agent guys. But I like Omarion Hampton. Lad McConkey, I told you he'd have a good rookie season. I felt he would. He did. Thank you for proving me right. I thought Oronde Gadsden II would have a good rookie season out of Syracuse. I drafted him late. He had himself a wonderful time. David Njoku has left Cleveland. He's now behind Oronde Gadsden. So I like Lad. I like Oronde. Quentin Johnston, somebody's going to take him. I think you could take him, maybe in the 8th round, depending on how many players or how many people are in your draft. But Herbert, yes. McConkey, yes. Gadsden, yes. Amarian Hampton, yes. But I'm tempering my expectations a little bit. And Quentin Johnston, yes. But I'm not doing it in, the first 5 rounds. I'm going to wait to draft a guy like Quentin Johnston. In my opinion, that's what I would do. We'll take a look at the other team from LA, the Los Angeles Rams, as we go to every NFL team in alphabetical order, giving you my advice on the fantasy season. So let's look at Matthew Stafford. I think Matty Stafford healthy is worth putting out there. Kyron Williams, absolutely. He's one of the best things to come out of Notre Dame in a long time. Puka Nacua, I say yes. He has a groin injury, though. Groin and hamstring nagging injuries make me concerned, but hopefully you can get him out there and he can stay healthy. Devontae Adams, I'm excited about what this could be for him. Jordan Whittington, he had some moments. CJ Daniels got drafted out of Miami, had one of the best catches last year, if not the best catch last year. He's coming as a rookie, coming off of the College Football Playoff National Championship berth. I'm not sold on any one of their tight ends right now. But they do have Terrence Ferguson, who's in his 2nd year out of Oregon. So I guess watch that. They also have Tyler Higbee, who's been there for a long time, but not a fantasy guy as far as like me expecting yardage and touchdowns from Tyler Higbee at the tight end position. So I like Kyron Williams. I like Matt Stafford. I like Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams I like, but I'd wait a little bit, maybe try to steal him in like the 7th round. And tight end wise, I don't have any thoughts on, I mean, my thoughts on those guys are I wouldn't draft any of them as of right now. I kind of let them sit there in free agency and then see what to do after. Miami, I think Quinn Ewers is the quarterback, in my opinion. They got Malik Willis down. I don't think that's going to be happening consistently. Cam Miller out of North Dakota State, he's also there. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be the guy. That's a joke between Papa Joe, my big brother Joey, and myself. But I think Quinn Ewers is going to be the guy. I think he could do some good things. I like Devon Achane and Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon II. If you're going to draft those guys, it's a grab and stash. Might help you right away. Might take a little while. But Achane is the best at any position on offense. He's the best bet if you're going to draft any Dolphin in fantasy football. And then we'll see. Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, Caleb Douglas, Tutu Atwell, who I've covered in college, Chris Bell, who I covered in college, Kevin Coleman II. I mean, Jalen Rieger, who was drafted high years ago, Terrence Marshall Jr., who used to be with Carolina. This is a bunch of guys trying to figure it out, right? And Malik Washington, I cover Virginia. He's in his 3rd year from Virginia. We'll see. I think Achane's your best bet. I think Ewers is going to be the starter at some point. And I think if you're going to go wide receiver, go Malik Washington or, maybe go deep on Chris Bell and see what that can give you for the rookie out of Louisville. And keep in mind, if you don't know Chris Bell, and not the Chris Bell that used to be at Syracuse and then went to Cal for basketball, Chris Bell, for his college stats here, taking a look at how he did in his time at Louisville. 4 years there, and he went from 7 catches to 29 to 43 to 72. He went from 105 to 407 to 737 to 917 yards. And he went from no touchdowns to 2 to 4 to 6. He went up in every category every single season when you look at that. So I would look at Chris Bell and say, again, a guy to look at, circle. Some people may overlook him because he's a rookie. They might not have watched Louisville, so they may not have high expectations in Miami, but Achane's going to be drafted early. I mean, that's a given. So he's the guy to get in Miami right now if you're going to pick anybody. Minnesota, Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. I'm not convinced that Kyler Murray is going to be the starter at all times, no matter what. I think this is a true quarterback battle. This might be the best team quarterback to get because you got 2 starters, and then you have Carson Wentz behind him, who's a former number 2 overall pick. So, I mean, for leagues that have the team quarterback like mine, this would be probably your best bet when it comes from 1 to 2. Aaron Jones, I'm not sold on. Jordan Mason, I'm not sold on. I mean, with this team, it's Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and maybe a Jordan Addison. That's where I'm looking to draft. And then I'm potentially, if I get my starting quarterback, depending on who's left, my team quarterback pick for my backup might be Minnesota because I think they got 2 starters there. And I think they're just worried about JJ staying healthy. But Kyler hasn't wowed me in Arizona. So whatever they want to call it, I still think it's a toss-up. I think during the season, it may continue to be a toss-up. New England, Drake May. Tommy DeVito is not only still on the team, but he's the 2nd in command behind Baron Morton. Not the 3rd. Let's go, DeVito. And Drake May. Drake May. So that's a Soldier Boy reference. For those of you wondering, why is he saying things the way he's saying things? 1, you haven't watched the show enough. 2, there's just stuff that happens in culture or inside jokes. I like Drake May. I don't know if I would have him as my dominant starter. If I'm in a deep league and he's my number 1, I'm fine with it. If I'm in a league of 10 to 12, I'm going to try and make him my backup, but I'm excited for what he can do. I thought he'd have a good second season. He has, but let's see what happens. I mean, their coach has had a lot of off the field issues. We'll see how that affects the locker room. People don't talk about the locker room enough. The locker room could be the biggest statistic on the team because depending on how your locker room is, it can make a good team with a lot of talent not look great and not consistently put out great numbers. You don't have a good locker room, you could have all the talent in the world and it still won't translate into wins. Drake May, I like, but I'm hoping the best for them. Drake May, like I said, a 1 or a 2. Hopefully he would be my number 2 at quarterback. Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson. I watched Travion in college at Ohio State when they won the championship a couple years ago. I like Travion. I told you I liked him going into the season last year. I put him on my roster. I think Travion could be the number 1 guy. Ramondre is still there. He's caught out of the backfield, so I think both of them are worth picking up. A.J. Brown is now in New England after spending his career with Tennessee and Philadelphia most recently. I want to tell you I feel good about A.J. Brown. I just watched a reel about A.J. Brown yesterday, which is pretty cool. So, I'm not against picking up A.J. Brown. Romeo Doubs is there too. Kayshon Boutte is there. And Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins has done some good things. He did some good things for Buffalo. I'm not sold on any one of these guys, but if I had to put my feet to the fire, I would pick A.J. Brown, and we'll see how far he drops on people that might think he's a head case or might think, he's been in the NFL too long. I don't think that's the case. I'm more concerned of, is he a detriment to the team beyond being a talented player? We'll see. So, I'm hoping the best for A.J. Brown. I think, he had a beautiful moment in a press conference with a female reporter, and I was watching it yesterday, ironically, which I find funny going into football season. And then, Hunter Henry. I have felt good about Hunter Henry when he started his career with the Chargers, and it's been up and down. So, listen, he had over 600 yards 2 years ago and over 700 last year. He's caught 60 or more passes in the last 2 seasons, and he had 7 touchdowns last year. So, again, I don't know what the locker room's going to be this year, but Hunter Henry, I think clearly he's a top 6, top 10 tight end. So I'll say that. I like him. I feel better about him than I feel about A.J. Brown. I feel good about A.J. Brown, but Hunter Henry's still on the team. He's been with the team. A.J.'s, new. He's got to figure himself out with Drake May. But I like Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, Hunter Henry, Drake May. I like A.J. Brown. I think these are guys that are obviously going to get picked up. I think, Kayshon Boutte is another name that'll probably go in some drafts and whatnot, and maybe a Mac Hollins or a Romeo Doubs. I would imagine that Brown, Doubs, and Boutte are all going to go in drafts. The New Orleans Saints here, Tyler Shuck, another guy that has crossed my path that I've spoken to and interviewed in my 22 plus years of broadcasting. Shuck, I'm not surprised. I thought last year he had a chance of becoming the starter. They used a million guys. They've continued to do that. New Orleans has not had a consistent every week quarterback since Drew Brees retired. So Shuck, I'm not surprised he's the guy. I think he can do some good things. I'm going to put him as a backup quarterback on a roster. Travis Etienne Jr. wants to be called Achan Jr. He said it's been said wrong. It's supposed to sound like Devon Achan's name is spelled. So Travis Achan Jr., when you hear me say that, know that that's because he said that's the way to say it, not because I'm thinking of Devon Achan. So they're Devon Achan. So Travis Achan Jr., Alvin Kamara. I think this helps out Kamara because he's trended downward at times, and so I think he's been best when he's had a guy with him, and you got a number 1 guy there. So I like Kamara and I like Achan. I think Achan will be drafted ahead of Kamara in some drafts here, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I like Chris Olave. I've liked him since he came in. And then outside of Chris Olave, it's a bunch of let's see what happens in New Orleans. But Jordan Tyson, they drafted him out of Arizona State early on here as a rookie, and so the expectation is he'll be good. I'm going to temper my expectations. I might wait to the middle part of the draft to draft him. Juwan Johnson, he's been good and he's disappeared. He's a tight end that is more than serviceable, but I got him still as a tight end 2 right now because the consistency is lacking. And it's not his fault that the quarterback changes like underpants in New Orleans, but if Shuck stays healthy, he's probably going to be the guy. And then, let's see what that does for Juwan Johnson. If we look at Juwan Johnson last year, statistically, he had 889 yards, 77 catches, and 3 touchdowns. He's had 3 or more touchdowns in 5 of his 6 seasons in the NFL. The only one he didn't was in the COVID season of 2020-21. That was his first year. He's had 4 or more since then. He has had 3 in the last 2 seasons apiece, and he has caught 50 or more balls in the last 2 seasons, and he went from 548 yards on 50 catches 2 years ago to 889 on 77 catches this past year. So gets in the end zone the same amount of time, but definitely is trending up. Hopefully with Tyler Shuck, that continues. I think Juwan Johnson is a good get, but I'd say you can get him as your backup tight end because I don't think a lot of people are going to be thinking about him necessarily. The New York Giants, I think the Giants could win this division this year if they all stay healthy. Jackson Dart, I like him. I like him at the end of games. I think he's good. I'm going to call him a quarterback 2, but I think he could put up quarterback 1 numbers. So he's a guy that I think, you can grab somewhere later on, not in the first 3 rounds, but it depends on how many Giants fans are in the room. So that's something to think about. Cam Scatterbo, a healthy Cam Scatterbo. I told you he'd be the starter between the tackles last year, and that's what he ended up being. Tyrone Tracy Jr., they said going into last year he could be more of a receiving running back. We'll see how it goes this year of the mechanics of this offense under John Harbaugh. But I think Tracy will get some love. I don't know how consistent it'll be, but I do like Scatterbo and I like Jackson Dart. Malik Neighbors, hopefully that ACL will get healthy and he'll be good to go. Kelvin Austin III, Odell Beckham's back. I like Odell Beckham Jr. I know my guy Zach Warner is going to pick him up at some point. He's a Giants fan. He's a Beckham fan. So we'll see when he does that. But yeah, I think Mooney, Austin, these are guys that you wonder, what's going to happen with them here trying to make the team. You got a rookie in Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame who is also trying to make some hay here. I think Neighbors and Odell Beckham are the places to go. Maybe a Darius Slayton. Isaiah Likely and Theo Johnson are both there. Theo's had good moments. Isaiah's had good moments with Baltimore. I mean, somebody's going to get the ball, but I don't know how balanced it's going to be. So I'd maybe stay away from these 2 guys until later in the draft, would be my opinion. Let's go from the Giants to the team that shares the same stadium for now at MetLife with the New York Football Jets. Geno Smith, Cade Klubnik. I think Klubnik's going to be the starter at some point this year. He is coming out of Clemson, and he's somebody that's been on my show. I appreciate Cade Klubnik. My prediction is him and Carson Beck will be the starter at some point this season for their respective teams. I like Breece Hall. I like Garrett Wilson. I'm concerned about how the ball is going to get out to these guys. Omar Cooper Jr., they drafted him out of Indiana's championship team in the college football playoff. So the 22-year-old who hails from Indiana and, hails from Indianapolis, Indiana, played for Indiana, is now going to the big city. So we'll see how that works out, Big Apple. And Omar Cooper, I think that's a late kind of slot in. Mason Taylor, I thought did a good job as a young tight end. I don't know why they drafted Kenyon Sadiq. Not that Kenyon's not talented coming out of Oregon, but why would you take a top 20 pick and draft a tight end when you just drafted a tight end? Again, there's things that some of these franchises like the Jets do that are a little bit of head scratcher, but I like Breece Hall. I like Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr. and Adonai Mitchell. I would wait to draft later. And I don't know if I would draft a tight end right now because I don't know how that Sadiq Taylor thing's going to work out. You could take a chance, but I don't know if the story's done with Mason Taylor just because Sadiq's there. We'll see. I think Sadiq can do some good things. He's got an abdomen injury. God willing, he'll be okay for week 1. But I think Sadiq could take over, but I don't know what this quarterback situation and how much the ball is going to go to the tight end. I think there's a lot of question marks here. So I think if you're going to draft a Jet, you draft Breece Hall. But then after that, Garrett Wilson. But I do think Cade Klubnik's going to start at some point. Let's take a step aside for a fast break. We got 7 more teams to get through. I promised you I'd do all 32, and we will right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myaviccollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K9, ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily?
Hello, this is Dylan Husted, the owner of the Baked Potato Express. We do mostly big festivals or big corporate like private events. Typically just big festivals such as like Taste of Syracuse, Food Truck Battle, Battle of the Wings. I do the State Fair. They're ordering from a fresh food truck that is making real food and happy to make it and wants them to enjoy every bite. We season every potato before they go in the oven, and then they bake for an hour, and when they come out, we season them again after we cut them. We use real butter, real cheese, real ingredients, so it's all really good food, and people love it. We have a lot of returning customers and regulars that we see very often. The customers really make a big impact, and this is a big food truck community. The events here are super busy. It's like in my blood. I like building things and creating stuff that people love, and me and my friends are the ones that run the truck, so it's kind of, it's a tight circle in there, and we have like a family sort of oriented truck, and it's a lot of fun, and we have a good time doing it, and people love our food, so it ends up making it well for everybody. You can contact the Baked Potato Express at thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com or the Baked Potato Express on Instagram or TikTok. We are very happy to be partnered up with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as the exclusive sponsor of the Annoying Moment of the Week. And be sure to try DT's baked potato creation at all of our food trucks. The Baked Potato Express. Let's get baked.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. The Wildcat Sports Club in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Find your way over there Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, Sundays from 10 to 5 to find singles, packs, boxes, graded cards. They're also the only sports card shop that I know that has every NFL, every MLB, and every NBA team, 92 franchises there for you, which is that attention to detail and the extra work that they put in to make sure that whoever you're a fan of, when you walk into GG Cards and Breaks, you now have the opportunity to go find your favorite teams. I'm a Raptor fan, a Jaguar fan, and a Diamondback. Where am I going to go to find all of those teams at all times in central New York? Really, anywhere am I going to find those three teams together? GG Cards and Breaks, they go beyond the extra mile. That's the beauty of it. They fan the kid's spirit. They have Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I don't know why I said Pokemon. Pokemon and One Piece. So go and check out GG Cards and Breaks today. Enjoy all that they have to offer. Go be a big kid and see why the sports card community is such a beautiful and welcoming and lovely place. There's nothing like GG Cards and Breaks. And that's where I go. 639 Delmar Place, Syracuse, New York. Tuesday through Saturday, open 10 to 6, Sundays 10 to 5. With that being said, let's go through our final teams here in my 32-team fantasy football primer for the 2026-27 season. Jalen feels so good it hurts. He is there, and we'll see what happens with him and this squad. I think Philly's in this place where they could... They're on a teeter-totter, a little seesaw right now. Could trend up, could trend down. So I like Jalen Hurts, though. I like Saquon Barkley. There's no A.J. Brown, which I think gives even more to Devontae Smith. He's got a hamstring injury. Hopefully he'll be okay. But here's the question. Marquise Hollywood Brown, like where's this going to go for him? And so, I mean, Marquise Brown, Mekhi Lemon, who they bring in out of USC, who is in the Biletnikoff Award that I get to vote for every year, by the grace of God, and many thanks to the Biletnikoff committee, to everybody there, and to even being added to the list of media that gets to vote in this. Mekhi Lemon comes to them from USC as a rookie. He has a hamstring injury. Hopefully he'll be happy. And then there's Dontavian Wicks, and what could Dontavian Wicks be coming from Green Bay? So I like Devontae Smith. I think Mekhi Lemon, drafting him a little bit later, a little past the midpoint of your draft, I think that's not a bad play. I like Saquon. I like Jalen Hurts. And I like Dallas Goedert. So, and they brought in Eli Stowers, which I think is fantastic. The rookie out of Vanderbilt. I think that's a great move. So, don't count off Stowers if you need a second tight end and a bunch of the names that, aren't rookies are gone, or, or you're left with a bunch of names of, if you're left at the tight end position with, I don't know where to go, and Stowers is there, that's not a bad move to make because, Goddard's getting older, and I think there's a reason why you draft Stowers, right? You look toward your future. Let's take a look at the next team here on the docket, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers on the other side of Pennsylvania. Aaron Rodgers is back. Look at my surprise face. It's not surprise for those of you that are listening on MixLR. So Jalen Warren, here's a thing that doesn't make any sense to me. Rico Dowdle went from Dallas, where he wasn't doing a lot, went to Carolina, and looked like he was doing a fantastic job, and now he's in Pittsburgh. So I don't know why Carolina wouldn't hold on to this guy. But, I mean, you got Chuba and you got Jonathan Brooks coming off a, injury, and hopefully he'll be okay. So, I mean, I can understand it from that point of view. But, I mean, you're hoping for good output. Chuba hasn't necessarily been consistent or been asked to be the guy, for a full season. Rico was giving you consistency, so it'll be interesting. But I can say this, if Dowdle lays a lick on somebody on defense this year, I might put out the post, he just got hit with a Rico. I might just do that. Little play on words. So Jalen Warren, worth drafting. I'm not going to have him as my number one guy. Dowdle, potentially worth drafting. I'm not going to have him as my number one guy. DK Metcalf is there. Michael Pittman's there. They're trying to give as much as they can give to Aaron Rodgers right now with new head coach Mike McCarthy, no longer Mike Tomlin. Now, DK will hopefully be healthy. Pittman will hopefully be healthy from his leg injury. and then we'll go from there. Jeremy Bernard, he's there as well. He's a rookie out of Alabama. So, I mean, as far as drafting, Pat Fryermuth, worth drafting at tight end. Jalen Warren's going to get drafted. I'd wait a little while on him, but not too long. DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman Jr., we'll see. Again, this is a 50-50 ball. And then Aaron Rodgers, I'm not drafting him as my number one guy. I might draft him late as my third quarterback, but I'm not drafting him as my number one. Not because I don't respect him, because I do. I'm just, Aaron Rodgers he's good. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a champion. And at the same time, when he's on a team, I told you last year I thought they could make the playoffs, and there they were. But, I mean, he's got to stay healthy, and the team's got to be consistent. And you got a new head coach. So, Aaron Rodgers, historically, I trust him on the field. I'm just not making him my number one quarterback on my fantasy team. San Francisco, Brock Purdy. I like him. I definitely do. I think this team's gone through a ton of injuries. Christian McCaffrey's been hurt, not hurt, and hopefully he'll be good for week one. Then you look at a bunch of non-household names. They brought in Kalen Black, who's from Indiana, who won a championship with them. He's been on my show. I think he could do some good things for San Fran because they always end up using 2 or 3 running backs. So don't count out Black. He could very much be a free agent at the end of your draft. So just pay attention to that. And so we'll see. Mike Evans, I'm excited about him being there. I think my guy Phil should be excited as well. Christian Kirk is there. Debo is back. So what is this all going to look like? We'll toss it in the air and see what happens with this as well. George Kittle, I think Brock Purdy is worth drafting. I would look to get him as my second quarterback. Mac, again, we have team quarterback in my leagues. Mac Jones is more than capable of winning games. He did it last year with San Fran and helped to keep them alive. So this is a good 1-2 punch. So, I mean, I would not prefer to have them be my starter, but I would prefer to have San Fran like a Minnesota on my team because this starter and the backup, I think, are both starters. Christian McCaffrey, healthy, is worth drafting. I'm not going to make him my number one running back if I don't have to because, I've gotten burned by it before, and I monitor that. Listen, Christian McCaffrey's extremely talented. He went to San Fran and throwing touchdowns, catching touchdowns, rushing in touch. I mean, the guy's all over the place. He's fantastic, but he's got to stay healthy. So, I think a healthy McCaffrey is great. But I think, once he gets injured, then you're like, man, I spent a high pick on him. So I'm not saying I wouldn't draft him in the first round. Depends on where I'm drafting. Mike Evans, he's worth picking up. Debo is worth picking up with him being back. I like Christian Kirk as a later round guy because I think people forget about him, but he's been good. And I've had him on the show numerous times, and I like Christian Kirk. I like him on the field. I like him off the field. And I told you about the quarterback situation. Kittle, maybe my backup, but he's got to stay healthy. So, and he's coming off an Achilles. God willing, he'll be okay. I'm hoping that he'll stay healthy. Outside of that, let's go to Seattle, the reigning champs. And Sam Darnold, I like him. I'd put him on my team as my backup quarterback right now. Zach Charbonnet, no Kenneth Walker III. So Jadarian Price, how's this going to work out? I like Price and Charbonnet. I'd look at drafting either one of them. Probably, hopefully, out of the first 3 rounds. We'll see how they go. I don't want to draft Charbonnet in the first 3 rounds because I don't know how much he's going to be used compared to Price. So I'd wait a little bit. I'm circling 5th round. I think your best bet with Seattle is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Rashid Shaheed and Cooper Kupp are going to get drafted as well. I wouldn't knock either one of those. I just wouldn't go as high on Kupp as maybe you've been in the past. Outside of Seattle, we'll go to Tampa Bay. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we got Baker Mayfield. And I think that Baker he's more than serviceable. He's my backup. Bucky Irving, I like him. Looking at drafting him potentially high. And then they have Sean Tucker, who is undrafted. He's been on the team. I mean, he's been good enough to make the roster every year. I think he'll do it again. I like Sean Tucker as a grab and stash from Syracuse. He's got the most yards ever in a season for a Syracuse running back. That's more than Joe Morris, more than Floyd Little, more than Jim Brown, more than Ernie Davis. Like, hello. So Tucker should never go unnoticed. He always has good moments in his NFL season since being a rookie. But I like Bucky. If Bucky's healthy, you go Bucky. You grab and stash Tuck. And then Emeka Ibuka, he's going to be drafted high. Godwin, we'll see what this looks like with him and Ibuka and no Mike Evans. Will Jalen McMillan step up or will it be someone else? And then I'm not sold on anybody at tight end for them. I'd like to see Payne Durham step it up from Purdue. And he's been in the league for a little bit here, but I like Ibuka and I like Irving probably the most on Tampa. And then as we get ready for this 2026-27 NFL season with this wake-up call fantasy football primer, we'll go to Tennessee. Cam Ward, backup, I would say. I'm not as sold on him. Their wide receivers, Calvin Ridley, we'll see. He likes Io Manor. We know that preseason they look good together. I think that's a guy that he goes back to, speaking of Cam Ward. So if you're going to pick somebody late, Io Manor is not a bad pickup. Wendell Robinson, Carnell Tate is the guy they drafted really early here. I told you they can't help themselves. It doesn't matter who the coach is. Doesn't matter who's in the front office. Tennessee cannot help themselves from drafting wide receivers early, and they did it with Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. So, I'm going to be very, when it comes to Tennessee's offense, I'm going to be careful on how many eggs I put in this basket. I want to see Carnell Tate do well. I want to see Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard be a good 1-2 punch. I want to see Cam Ward continue to get better. I want his connection with Alec Iomanor to continue to improve. I want to see Calvin Ridley do well. But I don't know if I'm drafting a Titan anytime early in my drafts because it's a question mark offense for me. Not that they don't have talent, it's just question mark. Jaden Daniels to round things out. Washington Commanders. A healthy Jaden Daniels is a starter for you. He is a number one guy. So I do like Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to look at him as, first round guy, maybe a second round guy. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he had a good rookie season. I like him. Rashad White's there now. We'll see what that looks like. Stephon Diggs is there with Terry McLaurin. Your best bets are McLaurin and Daniels and then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt when it comes to fantasy, in my opinion. So with that being said, 32 teams all throughout the league, alphabetical order. This entire show is the way you get ready for your draft and your season here on Wake Up Call. And every Wednesday, we'll be bringing you fantasy football throughout the season, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, where we have our drafts in Central and Upstate New York, right there at the Wildcat for many, many years. The Captains on Call League and the Gridiron Gurus will be drafting in late August and early September. And I can't wait to be back at the Wildcat, having awesome pizza, wings, the chicken Caesar wrap, the Kama fries, and everything that the atmosphere brings at the Wildcat, thanks to Danny Tome and his team. YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and WakeUpCallDT.mixlr.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and beyond, as we're beyond 2 hours with you today. And you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you got to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Many thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes, Honda City, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, the Baked Potato Express, where I have my own baked potato, the breakfast potato, the Wake Up Call breakfast potato. Go and get it wherever they are. Make sure you go and try it today. And Gray's Craze of Clay, New York, Skippy's Ice Cream, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, where I have my own breakfast sandwich, the Q-Smack Mother, 7 days a week, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Avicoli's, Game Point Sports Complex, Willow Rock Pizza Pub, and the Willow Rock Brewing Company. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your On Tech Wolves here, the Gray Wolves, loving them up. Wolfpack Mentality and Leaders of the Pack, our newest partnership, the Wolfpack Mentality, will come to you featuring student athletes, coaches, and more from On Tech Charter High School in Syracuse, New York, the first high school to ever sign a multimedia marketing partnership of this caliber in this community. And so the Wolfpack Mentality comes to you weekly, Leaders of the Pack once a month. Stay tuned for what's to come with On Tech. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing. And also want to make this mention of OnTech, pardon me here. Don't want to leave this out by any stretch of the imagination. So let me tell you this about OnTech as well with what they bring. A fresh start for high school success, personalized learning, hands-on opportunities, student-staff relationships that are strong, a growing athletic program focused on graduation and career readiness, and a different high school located in Syracuse, open to all students in New York State from any district. So make sure that you know that. They welcome anybody across New York State. They don't have to deal with district lines. They are a public school, but a charter school, and they function in a very unique place on their own here in central and upstate New York. So make sure you go and see you go online and check out OnTech Charter High School in Syracuse, who puts a premium on creating a healthy, caring community, focusing on the mental and physical health of teenagers. If you want to find out more information about OnTech Charter High School, all you have to do is go to ontechcharter.com. That's ONTECH charter.com. Make sure you do that today. Of course, we are also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining me throughout the year to tell their stories and the greater story of the Bearcat family. Go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage under the Multimedia Partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. This has been your Fantasy Football Primer. If you have any questions, send them to me. You can email dtstays@gmail.com. You can also get to us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, God bless, no stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon.